Hello everyone, welcome back to Hooking A. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how we join in a new strand of yarn. So this will be if you run out of the ball of yarn you're working with partway through a project, or if you're doing colour work and you need to switch over to a new colour. It's the same technique for both, but I will show you joining in the same colour and then joining in a new one. Today I'm using a nice vibrant colourful cotton yarn and a 3mm hook. You can see I've already done a couple of rows of blue. I've changed over to the purple, so I'm going to rejoin the purple and then do a few stitches, and I'll show you how we join in the blue. We'll also move on to a slightly more advanced technique towards the end of the video that shows you how to carry your new colours behind the piece, which is useful if you're working images into your piece of crochet, but we'll come to that later on. So first of all, I'm coming to the end of this strand here. I have just cut this off, but we just imagine that I've come to the end of the ball, and I'm probably not going to have enough yarn just to get to the end of this row here. So what I want to do is join that purple yarn back in. Now I'm working in half trebles here, but it's the same technique regardless of the stitch that you're using. You just stop before you do the final step of the stitch. So half trebles here, I would do my yarn over into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and I'm just going to stop here with those 3 loops rather than pulling this strand through. I'm instead just going to drop this to the back, and I'm going to pick up the new piece. I'm wrapping that around my hand as I would with the normal working yarn. Pick this back up, and I'm just going to use this strand then to finish off this stitch. So now we'll have the end of that and the end of the previous working yarn both sticking out the back of the same stitch. So just so we can tie those off together, make sure that they're nice and secure and they're not going to come unravelled, I'm going to leave my crochet hook in the working loop, put this down, just going to pull those 2 strands tight and tie them together with a double knot. And what this does is it just closes that little gap up and makes sure that these 2 strands aren't going to come apart. Obviously this will leave some ends at the back of your work. You can leave those and sew them in with a darning needle at the end, or you can carry them along the row as I've shown in a previous video, and just hide the ends as you go. So now my new working yarn is joined in here. That's what's attached to the hook. And then if we turn over, we've got the 2 ends of that piece. They're in the back there, so they're not going to come undone. They're not going anywhere. And you can carry on as normal. So you don't need to do anything special here. You've got your new yarn in. And you just carry on your stitches as you normally would. And then I'm also going to show you how we do this with any colour. If you wanted to join in a colour, usually you might be doing that at the end of the row, exactly the same technique. You're just leaving that last step. It's just that it's at the end of the row. You can see where I've done that here, and I've changed from the blue back to the purple. But you can also do it partway through a row as we've just done there. So I'm going to show you that now. So last step of my stitch, I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to cut this purple off this time. I'm just going to put it to the side. I'm going to bring in my blue. So the same as before, I'm just going to make this my working yarn. This purple, I'm just going to push it there so it's towards the back of the piece, and then bring in this blue just to finish that stitch off. And then because this is attached, it's not going to come undone. I'm just going to grab the blue behind. Just going to go into that next stitch just to secure that. Then you can see, because I've got this loose strand of blue, but the purple's still joined, I do still need to just tie it off just to make sure that's not going anywhere. But if we carry our colours along, we won't need to keep doing this part. only when you first join the colour in. I'll show you what I mean by that now. So now that that's tied off, just as if we were crocheting the ends in so we didn't have to sew them at the end, that purple yarn I'm going to carry along the back just by holding it against my stitches. Okay. And you can see I've gone from a purple stitch straight to a blue one. They look exactly the same. There's no difference in like the stitch size or anything. They're the same from the top. There's no sort of a bit of blue in the purple stitch or a bit of purple in the blue stitch. They're both completely individual, and that's how we do the colour change as well. So I'm going to just do a couple more stitches of this blue, and then I will bring the purple back in. So this is the technique that you'd use if you were doing a graphgan, which is where you are putting a picture into like a blanket or something. It's called that, it's a mixture of terms, a graph, crocheting from a graph, and an afghan, which is what they tend to call blankets in American terminology, but I like the sound of graphgan. It's quite a cute made up word. But this can be used for any sort of technique. It doesn't have to be something like a blanket. You can use it when you're making clothing or any other thing. It just makes it easier if you've got multiple colour changes rather than you having loads and loads of ends flapping around at the back. This makes it a lot easier for you to bring your colours in and out. So I'm just going to do a few more stitches of blue, and you can see I'm still just carrying the end of that purple along with me. So it's right in the spot I'm going to need it. I'm going to do that at this point. I'm at the last step of that half treble, so I'm just going to drop that blue. And my purple's already joined at the back of this stitch, so there's no tying needs to happen here. We're literally just swapping these colours over. So I'm going to bring the purple back onto my finger, hold that blue at the back with the other hand just here. And then we're closing that stitch off with the purple, but at the end of the stitch then it's blue, switching back to the purple here. And then that blue strand that's at the back, I'm going to carry that along like I was just doing with the purple, which makes it nice and easy then if I want to bring the blue back in. It's right there and ready. This makes life a lot easier for multiple colour changes. Something that I like to do if I'm working on something like a blanket is carry the colours at the edges. So you can do your row as normal, and then you've got it there waiting at the end to go into your next row. So you're just bringing it up, and it makes for a lot less work. So once you get to the end of it, you haven't got all these little bits and pieces you've got to darn in. You'll just have that bit at the bottom corner where you started and your last strand at the end. So you can see there I've managed to transition from purple to blue, back to the purple again. And then at the back, you can see here where I carried the purple along and brought it back in. And now I've continued with the blue and brought the purple back in. So both these balls of yarn are still attached. You can do this as many times as you want. You could do every other stitch. If you were doing every other stitch, you'd really want to do something like this rather than have to keep tying the ends off, because you would have quite a lot of mess at the back of the piece when you're finished. But that's pretty much it. It's exactly the same technique whichever stitch you're using, as I said. So I'll swap over now to I'll go back to using the blue, and I'll change to trebles. So hang on, we need to do half the stitch in the purple, sorry, before I undo that. Hang on. So change this to a treble now. So I'm going to pull through 2, leave that last step, drop the purple just towards the back there. I'm going to bring in the blue and use that to close off that stitch, and then I can work my trebles along, carrying on in that blue yarn. And there you can see this has changed from a half treble to a treble. You can see we've got that first treble is in the purple, and then we've transitioned into the blue. And then if you look back across the top, you can see where those stitches have changed over. You can't see where that colour changes because it's hidden inside the stitch, so it keeps it nice and neat. So obviously this looks a little bit weird the way where I've done these stitches, but you can carry this on. You can change what stitch you're doing, you can change the colours backwards and forwards as many times as you like. And then obviously when you come to the end, if you are carrying them along like this, I would just tie them together when you snip those two ends off right at the end of the piece, and just secure them together like that. So there we go. I hope that one was helpful. If you do have any suggestions for any other videos that you'd like to see, if there's any particular techniques that you'd like to learn or just brush up on, or if you need any troubleshooting, anything like that, then please do leave a comment below. I'll do my best to make a video for you. Always happy to help just in the comments as well, if you just want a few little tips. So hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye bye.